She looked at me and muttered, "You saw it, didn't you?" I awkwardly but truthfully nodded. There was nothing I could do about what I had accidentally seen. The image of her kept spinning in my mind, refusing to leave. What I had unintentionally witnessed while heavily drunk lingered, no matter how much I wished otherwise. My name is Steve Patterson, just a typical office worker leading a moderately enjoyable life, until today when things took a strange turn. I'm on a company trip, staying at this old but charming inn, complete with a hot spring and clean rooms. It's pretty awesome. Our company isn't that big, only about 20 people, but this year we performed exceptionally well. So they treated us to these nice accommodations. 2 male staff share a room, while the female staff got single rooms, a special treat for our top performer, Catherine. Catherine, a stunning top saleswoman, is nothing like me. She's excellent and kind, like a goddess. Unsurprisingly, she was surrounded by the boss and department manager during the banquet. They were clearly smitten with her. Amidst the lively atmosphere, my gaze was drawn to Catherine. "We have high hopes for you this year. You're our company's ace," said the boss. She smiled gracefully. Watching her from afar, I sipped my drink. The thought of an average guy like me drinking with someone like Catherine felt audacious. I ended up drinking more than I should have. The bosses were having a great time with the hostesses, their boisterous laughter echoing through the banquet hall. The female staff had already returned to their rooms since it was getting late, leaving the bosses to their fun. Feeling dizzy from the alcohol, I decided to call it a night and hurried to my room. The inn, though traditional, had names and numbers on each room, an effort to accommodate more guests. My room was number 30. I reached it, and since the inn didn't have auto locks and I carried my valuables with me, I didn't bother locking the door. I opened the door with a creak, took off my shoes, and slid open the door to the room. But something was wrong. Catherine was there. The sight sobered me instantly, and I quickly closed the door. "Whoa, sorry, wrong room?" I stammered. Despite sobering up, I was still unsteady and ended up tripping over the threshold, falling spectacularly. "Wait, are you okay?" Catherine asked, her voice a mix of concern and disbelief. But she couldn't say much more. I had seen something I shouldn't have, and the image kept replaying in my mind. Her glamorous fit body, her translucent white skin. I couldn't stop thinking about it, but what stuck with me most was the big bruise on her side. That bruise, I felt like I'd seen it somewhere before. As I struggled with my thoughts, the alcohol finally took over, and I passed out right there at the entrance. A few hours later, I found myself prostrating before Catherine, apologizing profusely. I knew if she made a complaint, I'd have no chance. My fate was in her hands. Though she looked displeased, Catherine finally said, "You were really drunk, so I'll forgive you this time. But don't drink that much again." "I'm sorry," I replied, feeling utterly humiliated. It was embarrassing to admit, but Catherine had actually put me to bed in her room after I passed out. I had shown her a pathetic sight, and my pride was completely crushed. No matter how kind she was, I couldn't blame her for being disgusted by my actions. Just as I braced myself for the worst, she spoke again, her usual confident smile nowhere to be found. She seemed a bit down, lacking her usual confidence. "Aren't you going to say anything?" she asked, her voice softer than usual. From my perspective as a man, I had been shown a captivating scene, and I was actually thankful for it. But as I considered my words carefully, trying to avoid making things worse, she murmured, "You saw the bruise, didn't you?" "I saw it. But doesn't it disappoint you?" she asked, her voice tinged with vulnerability. "Everyone says so. If it weren't for that bruise, I'd be perfect." I had seen the bruise, but the impact of everything else was so overwhelming that it didn't seem like something I needed to worry about. "I don't think there's such a thing as a perfect person," I said almost without thinking. "It's kind of like your trademark, and honestly, it's cool." Her eyes widened in surprise, and I felt a strange sense of déjà vu. Had I said something like this before? "You're different, Steve. You're the second person to say that to me." "Oh, was it your boyfriend?" I asked, a bit uncertain. "Isn't it well known in the office that I'm single?" "Are you being sarcastic?" she responded, a slight smile on her lips. "No, it was a classmate in elementary school, but I haven't seen him in a while since I transferred to another school because of my parents." As she said this, a distant memory resurfaced in my mind. Hey, I remember, there was a girl in my class with a bruise like that. I think it was around second grade. During gym class, while we were changing, one of the boys made fun of her, calling the bruise gross. A few others joined in, and she ended up crying. I remember saying something to comfort her, but she moved away, and I never saw her again. Could it be? Catherine, wasn't your elementary school Maplewood Elementary before you moved? Yes, but how do you know that, Steve? She asked, her voice tinged with curiosity. I just remembered. There was a girl in my class with a birthmark like yours. You moved away before we entered the 4th grade, right? Yes, that's right. Wait, Steve, were you that boy from back then? It turns out that Catherine and I had attended the same elementary school. Her parents had divorced around that time, and she moved with her mother, changing her last name. I never imagined I'd reunite with her as a coworker at the same company. But you remembered me after seeing me like this? She asked, her voice carrying a hint of awkwardness. Yeah, it's kind of awkward. I'm sorry about that. It's fine, she said with a small smile, but we should probably head back to our rooms. It's late. Feeling better, I apologized to Catherine once more before heading back to my room. A month later, Catherine and I had grown close enough to occasionally have tea together. She had become more comfortable around me, especially since I didn't react negatively to her birthmark. We chat and sometimes even share a drink or two. During those times, our conversations often turned to work. Why doesn't anyone value you? She asked one evening. I'm just not that good, I replied, shrugging it off. What are you talking about? You quietly handle administrative tasks and help others without anyone noticing. You need to assert yourself more. Catherine's complaints were mostly about my job evaluation. I'm simply doing what I think will make everyone's job easier, nothing more. She insisted that it was incredible, but I thought she was overstating things. Whenever I said so, Catherine would pout, which I found kind of cute. I thought our relationship would continue like this forever. But then, an incident occurred that changed everything. Catherine had mentioned she was going to meet a client, but after that, all contact with her was cut off. Our company deals with dyeing, and she was supposed to visit a factory in the countryside. But hours passed, and she hadn't returned to the office. No one could reach her, and the factory confirmed she had visited but left shortly after. As the day ended, and Catherine still hadn't returned, her mother, who was her emergency contact, said she didn't know where she was either. I was supposed to be done for the day, but something didn't sit right with me. Catherine wasn't the type to disappear without reporting to the office. I decided to go look for her after work. The road leading to the factory was rarely used by vehicles. It was dark, and there was little I could do on my own other than scan the area. But maybe there was some kind of clue. As I was driving, I found Catherine's car stopped on the side of the road. But she was nowhere to be found. The driver's seat door was open, and the keys were still in the ignition. Catherine, where are you? I shouted into the night. Steve, is that you? A frail voice called out from beyond the guardrail, coming from the woods. I rushed over and found her at the bottom of a slope. Her clothes were tattered, as if she had fallen, and she weakly raised her hand, clearly in distress. I immediately called for paramedics, and Catherine was rescued. She had twisted her ankle during the fall and had some minor scrapes, but thankfully her life wasn't in danger. She explained that her car had broken down on her way back from the client's place. While checking out the issue, she lost her balance due to her high heels and fell through a gap in the guardrail. Why were you there, Steve? She asked, her voice filled with a mix of confusion and gratitude. I'm glad you were, but it's strange. I thought something might have happened. I was looking for you because I knew you weren't the type to skip work without telling anyone, I explained. Hearing this, she blushed and smiled. How about going to the aquarium next time as a thank you? This was clearly an invitation for a date, different from our usual casual suggestions for drinks. It caught me off guard, but I declined her offer. Let's go when you're fully recovered, I said. You've twisted your ankle after all. We should start with somewhere closer. Besides, I'd like to be the one to ask you out to the aquarium. Catherine seemed pleased by this. There was a reason why I declined. I had planned to ask her out to the aquarium myself and confess my feelings to her. A man should make the first move, or maybe that's just my pride talking. But in the end, I never got the chance to ask her to go to the aquarium. A week after Catherine's accident, we were informed that our company was going to merge. It was sudden and surprising, but considering the company's shaky performance, I could understand if the boss was doing this to protect our livelihoods. Despite our good performance this year, we had been struggling for the past few years. That grand company trip we had, it was the last of its kind, which is why it was so luxurious. The merger seemed inevitable. The problem was the company we were merging with. It was a major fashion company, and we were to be assigned to its newly established dyeing department. And the boss of that company, Catherine's mother. After her divorce, Catherine's mother had started a small company and built it up to its current size. When Catherine went missing, the boss contacted her mother. As soon as Catherine was found, her mother started looking into our company. Although she had always let Catherine live her life the way she wanted, without interfering in her work, she grew concerned about the company environment after the accident. Upon investigating, she fell in love with our dyeing work. The merger talks swiftly concluded, given our company's dismal business performance. The paperwork was still in process, but it was clear that the merger was moving forward. A company transfer. I was thinking about this nonchalantly when the boss suddenly tapped me on the shoulder. "Steve, can I talk to you for a moment?" he asked, his expression serious. I feared the worst. Was he going to tell me I was fired? The pressure was intense. Yes, I replied nervously. "The truth is, you're the only one being transferred to a different department." "What? I'm not in a dyeing department." I was shocked as the boss explained. Apparently, based on a recommendation from a woman named Catherine, I was the only one assigned to the main office. I was stunned, but Catherine too was going to be assigned there. "When I told my mom about your hard work, she said she wanted you in the office," Catherine explained. "She's tough, even with her own family, so it wasn't just because I recommended you. It was based on your achievements." I was perplexed by what Catherine had said, but I wanted to make the most of this opportunity. I didn't want to disappoint Catherine, who had put her faith in me. "I'll do my best," I vowed. And so I moved forward in my new company, which was about 20 years ago now. I'm in my 50s, but thanks to my hard work back then, I'm now an assistant to the CEO. The company has grown significantly under new leadership, and the job keeps me busy both at work and at home. "Steve, where's the wine?" I hear from across the room. "Come on, Catherine, you're drinking too much," I scold my wife, who has just finished a whole bottle of wine. Since joining the main office, we had worked together more closely, and although I originally intended to confess my feelings at the aquarium, Catherine beat me to it. We started dating and eventually got married. We've been blessed with children, and we're leading a successful life together. Catherine took over the company, and I've been supporting her ever since. No matter how many years pass, Catherine continues to lead me, and I find it absolutely endearing. "Why not? It's our home, so it's okay to get drunk," she protests playfully. "You'll catch a cold if you sleep on the floor again," I warn her. "I don't need to hear that from you," she teases back. Even after 20 years together, she never misses a chance to make fun of me. But I'm not upset. If it weren't for that incident all those years ago, I wouldn't have had the chance to spend my life with her like this. "All right, if you get too drunk, I'm sleeping on the couch," I threaten half-heartedly. "I don't want to sleep alone, so I'll stop drinking," Catherine says, smiling. I hope we stay together, sharing our smiles, until we're old and gray. With that thought, we enjoy our evening drinks in moderation as always.